video, we're gonna make one of the traditional Okinawan dishes called Kombu Maki. And you don't see a lot of it these days. It used to be a dish that I would see a lot at potlucks, but this is one of those dishes that you will still see at Japanese or Okinawan okazuya, Japanese delicatessens here in Hawaii. It's a really neat dish. It's a little bit of work. I believe that you don't see it as much anymore because there's so much work, but it's a really neat dish to learn, and it's a fun one to do for special occasions, or if you want to do something really nice for a potluck or a get-together. So as you can see, the dish, we already have braising. It's a braised dish, and so it takes a long time to cook, and I wanted you to see it cooking already. It takes about an hour and a half to slowly cook because you want all the flavors to come together, and you really want the pork to tenderize and slow cook. We have the Kombu Maki braising or simmering in a dashi, shoyu, and sugar broth. And dashi, for those of you who may not familiar with, it's sort of the Japanese stock base, and it is classically made with kelp, kombu, which is dried kelp, and katsuobushi, which is a bonito that they cure and shave into flakes, and that's sort of how they get their very delicate stock. Now, for contemporary uses or quick uses, we tend to use sort of an instant dashi mix called hondashi, and it very quickly replicates the classical version. If you want, you can make the very classical version, or you could move to the convenient method that works well. Okay, so to start, I have all of the ingredients prepped to make the Kombu Maki, and Kombu Maki roughly translates to kombu roll or kombu wrap. So we're taking kombu, which is this sheets here. This is the dried seaweed, and we're using the nishime kombu. So this kombu is intended to make the nishime dish, but it works perfectly fine. And we soaked it in water to have it rehydrate, and then we trimmed them into the pieces. So that's one. The other thing we're using is kampyo, which is a dried gourd strip. This is what it looks like before it's rehydrated, and they come in very long strips. You rehydrate them, and then we're gonna cut them into sections, and this is what we're gonna use to tie. The other ingredients we have is pork belly, or pork. You could use pork butt or pork belly. I use pork belly because it's nice and decadent and rich. We have some carrots, and then we have gobo, which is also known as burdock root. I'll do a quick trim here so you can see on the carrot. Basically, we'll take the carrot, I'll score it off so it doesn't roll, and we're just gonna cut pieces like that. This is about a 2 to 2.5 inch piece, and we'll take the strips and we'll cut them down so they look like this. Okay, and then we have the gobo, which was peeled already. It's a root, so it has, of course, sort of that potato. It looks like a potato skin. You peel that all off, and then it looks like this. And we're gonna trim it up in the same way, a little square it off, and then we'll go ahead and cut pieces to be used in our wrap. So to start, you're gonna take a piece here of the kombu, or I'm sorry, a piece of the kampyo. You're gonna lay it down, and then you take a piece, take all the liquid off, take a piece of the kombu here. We'll put a piece of pork on the kombu, and you can see here that they've all been trimmed to fit perfectly. And then we add a piece of carrot and a piece of gobo. We're gonna turn it and roll it. Place it on top of the gourd strip, and then we're gonna tie it. One thing you're gonna notice is when you make these, the pieces of, all of your pieces will vary a little bit what you're working with. So go ahead and make your first Kombu Maki roll, and then see how long of a piece of kampyo you need so that you don't end up cutting them all ahead of time and they're too short. Part of the reason why this is one of those dishes you make more of on a special occasion is because it does take a little time to make, and after a little practice to get good at it. So you're gonna take these, right, and we'll take these and we'll put them into our broth and then simmer them. These have been cooking, like I said earlier, and I'm gonna take a couple out so you can see what they look like when they're cooked. But they should be nice and tender. And what's nice about them is that, you know, when you bring these to a party, I mean, if you look at it, just look at that. you can see how much work was put into something like this and how much care was put into this. So there's a lot of, you know, unspoken, I guess, love in a dish like this when you bring it to a party. I'm gonna go ahead and taste one. Let's see. And you can see inside here, it's nice and hot, but the campio is all nice and tender. The kombu is tender, and you can see all of the little pieces of happy pork, carrot, and gobo. So before I go in and take a taste, I'll let you know that for more recipes like this, you can visit us at foodland.com.